So Danny, then that's good result, but what's your feelings on the performance?
I just said to the players, I've got mixed emotions. I'm pleased that we won. Obviously, we needed to get back to winning ways to keep ourselves in the hunt. I'm just not happy with how the game went. Even the first half, if we started really well, front foot, which is what we wanted to do, get ourselves 2-0 up, and then once Waltham Abbey had that spell in the game where they started to get on top, we became very disjointed. We started to become erratic at things, and we can't do that. We should be in control of the game. Half time 2-0, great, and then going 3-0 up, you're thinking, okay, that's the game done. And then again, they get a goal back through our errors. And again, we looked vulnerable. Naive is probably the best word that I can use. So yeah, it's mixed emotions for me. Happy that we've won, of course, but not happy with how we've finished the game. Yeah,
because we was up the top and we was watching the game from up there, and it did look like, say that first 5 minutes you thought, this could be anything, and then all of a sudden we sort of somehow just sort of let them come back into the game. Is that more to the fact that we've probably got a few youngsters in midfield there, and you haven't got your experienced heads because of injuries and suspension?
Possibly, you maybe have to take that into account. But then you have these players, the players and all the players have to learn and understand what's required and what's responsible. What they're responsible for. I'm not going to stand here now and say, well, yeah, it's just down to the young because they're young players. It was the whole group. It was the whole team. And we've got to learn how, once you get yourself in front, how you need to manage the game. We just didn't manage the game well enough. We did naive things at the wrong times, and we just gave them unnecessary hope, because we could have had a really enjoyable end to the game. And what happened was it became frantic, and we're defending, last minute. And we shouldn't have been in that. We shouldn't have been in that position.
So again, we were talking at half time. I think your dad was upstairs as well, and he was talking about when we were 3-0 up once before and it came back to 3-3. But did it feel that sort of game to you again? Did you just feel like you've just sort of taken your foot off the accelerator a little bit?
Well, at 2-0, you always think if they get a goal back, it could be interesting. But when we scored the third, I genuinely thought, right, that's it, game's done. But then that's from when that point on, we just didn't manage the game well enough. And again, just repeating me, I can only repeat myself. We were just naive in what we did and how we did it, and just gave them unnecessary hope. So look, we've got to take the positives in the fact that we've won a game of football. We've scored 3 great goals, but this week we need to do quite a bit of work out there to make sure that we understand how we need to be when we're in that position, because there's enough experience even out there today, Dave. There's enough experience out there to make sure that the game was seen out properly, and we didn't get that.
Would you say that could be a bit more with the confidence because the results haven't necessarily gone the right way in the last few weeks? So could it have been a little bit nervous as well for them as well, getting a little bit nervous when they get one back and it just gets a bit edgy? I
would say at 2-0, if it goes to 2-1, then yeah, you can probably put that in. But we were 3-0 up. Game was done. Well, it should have been done and over. And we've made poor decisions at poor times. But as I say, we wanted to make sure today was important. We've set ourselves a group. The group set themselves a goal of. We had 3 games, including today, before Christmas, and we want to get maximum points and try and be in that top 6. So from that point of view, we've achieved that today. We've got the 3 points, but we've just got to be better at certain stages of the game to make sure that we get them wins, and that's what we need to work on.
Well, I suppose plus points. I suppose really, I looked at that team sheet when there's maybe the squad when we were beginning of the season. You've got all these sort of the old heads coming back in, experienced heads coming back in. But now you've got to a situation where some of these youngsters have come into the team and keeping some of the more experienced boys on the bench. So that must be a real sort of plus for you to see the likes of Marcus and Alfie and people like coming in today as well. And you've got someone like Lane and Junior and that on the bench. It must be a big boost for you to see that these youngsters have already sort of got to the level that you want them to be at.
Well, they have to a point. If you look at today, Dadson is nursing a bit of a hip flex problem. since Tiani went in, Lane got injured a couple of weeks ago with his hamstring. Tiani's gone in there and done a great job, so fair play to him. Marcus has been more of a regular all season and done well. But the youngsters have now got to understand what's required. Like I just said, not be so naive, because that's what we was today. But yeah, you're right. It's good to have the young ones in the side, but at the same time they've got to understand what's required, because if they don't, then you can find yourself out the team very quickly. So there's good and bad. There's good and bad to it. But I'm more interested now in us concentrating on getting these next two games with 3 points from each of them, because if we get to the Christmas period and you're not in that top 6, it's going to be a tough task.
And it must be good as well to see the machine back and looking sharp. He looked really sharp day, getting a couple of goals.
He did. He done very well today. In fact, I would say he's probably our best player today. So yeah, that's good. He'd been out of football for a long time before he came back this year. He worked really hard to get himself back into his shape and looking somewhere near where he and where we need him to be. And then he unfortunately caught COVID and was away for 2 weeks, and it sort of knocked him for 6. And he's now sort of back where he was at the beginning again, trying to work himself back to a level that he needs to be at. But today was really positive. I thought he worked really, really hard, gave them all sorts of problems, got himself a couple of goals. So yeah, hopefully that's the first step for him to be back to where he needs to be.
Injuries wise, I mean, we've got anybody coming back from injury? I mean, injuries sort of clearing up a little bit now, going into the Christmas period.
Yeah, I mean, Hector Mackey, when he did his knee, everyone was really expecting the worst, but that's proven not to be the case. He's working himself really hard, and we're hoping that maybe in the next week or two he'll be back into training with us. So yeah, if we can get him back on the pitch before the new year, that would be great. But we won't rush it. It needs to be right. Cyrus has got a hamstring problem. We wasn't sure whether he'd be able to play today. He did a test before the game and it was no good. Fabian obviously suspended today, and he'll be suspended next Saturday as well. So we look forward to having him back. Damari's had really bad tonsillitis, where he's had to have a few weeks off. Again, hopefully he'll be back in the next week. So yeah, we are expecting a few back, which will be good. Be good for competition for places. But yeah, we just got to make sure that it's the right time, because we don't want to lose people for long periods.
Yes, I mean, especially sort of Hector. I mean, the fans love Hector, don't they? And I mean, he does make a heck of a difference when he's on that pitch.
He does make a difference.
Yeah.
He definitely makes us a better team. There's no question about it. And he's been so unlucky. He had the really bad hamstring problem last year, and another one. He worked so hard during the summer to get himself back, and then obviously he did that and looked sharp, looked well, looked good, and then his knee goes on him. And the easiest thing for him would have been to sort of give up, if you like, but he hasn't. He's got his head down. He's working really hard again. And yeah, he'll definitely make a big difference to us once we can get him back on the pitch. Yeah.
Well, listen, Dan, thanks for today, and congratulations on the 3 points, and hopefully we'll get the other 6 that we need before Christmas.
Yeah, that's what we can. Yeah. Thanks, mate.